The 2015 World Championship Series Global Finals is brought to you in part by Intel, Windows 10, MasterCard, and T-Mobile.
Welcome back to the WCS, where we're feeling bright and fresh on the couch. And we have Tilo and In Control to my right, as always. And will be joining me throughout the day and also joining us at BlizzCon when we go over there. And Todd, the professional Heroes of the Storm, also side gig StarCraft 2 commentator.
That's a joke you're only supposed to make once, because if you make it twice, then the second time it's not nearly as funny. But you know quite a bit about Heroes of the Storm yourself, having played 150 games in the last week.
Oh, that's not quite true.
Rank 6 Heroes of the Storm player currently on BNet, guys.
I am rank 6. But welcome to the couch. I hope you've been having a lot of fun coming back to StarCraft. You enjoy that first game?
Yeah, it was really good, especially map number 1. I was really surprised that, that Fantasy brought up a good fight and somehow was able to pull through. But sadly, after that, it was all...
In the end?
I feel like these Linkin Park punts are going to be like...
I need to know
the lyrics, though. Why would you... We weren't doing any Linkin Park punts.
Yeah, we weren't.
Oh, the Chobra did.
Oh, did he?
No, he didn't.
Yeah. he opened his interview with, he tried so hard, but in the end, it didn't even matter. Pay attention. Come on, this is your show. You're the host.
I heard he said that, but I don't think he was trying to reference Linkin Park, Todd.
I like Kevin better.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get criticized all the time.
Yeah. Of the Warcraft 3 players, he was
All right, let's have a look at the bracket.
The murder smiling on, like,
compose yourself.
End it.
Hero is the first player to make it to BlizzCon as he goes through to the quarterfinals and will be facing up against ByuL or Classic. Remember, each of the round of 16 games will be covered today. So if you're just tuning in, we have a lot more StarCraft action to go over.
Also, one of the things that casters say all the time is like, so much great StarCraft today. There's going to be great StarCraft. But when we say today, you can actually underline that.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure StarCraft's going to be going until midnight tonight. Like, we're actually doing today. It's going to be awesome.
It's a considerable amount of high-skill games here, Todd. But before we talk about ByuL versus Classic, as we saw Hero versus Fantasy, ByuL and Classic did have a couple of words for us. So let's go ahead and look at what they had to say.
네, 안녕하세요. SK텔레콤 T1의 프로토스 클래식 김도우입니다.
안녕하세요. 실제엔틱스의 저그 한지원입니다.
제가 이번 연도 시즌 초에는 별다른 성적을 못 냈는데 스타리그에서 우승을 하고 또 바로 이어서 IM 샌전에서도 우승을 해서 괜찮은 한 해였던 것 같은데
올해는 정말 좀 작년에 비해서 정말 만족스러웠던 한 해였던 것 같아요. 이렇게 블리즈컨도 오게 되고 그리고 준우승도 3번이나 했고 양대 준우승은 제가 처음이니까 그래서 만족하고 있어요.
저는 그걸로 만족하지 않고 국내 대회랑 IM 둘 다 우승해봤으니까 저에게는 블리츠컨 우승이 정말 한번 해보고 싶은 거여서 이번 블리츠컨 정말 우승하기 위해서 열심히 연습하고 왔습니다.
좀 눈물이 많은 편인데 내 경기장에서나 경기에서 지고 꼭 엄마가 옆에 있더라고요. 그래서 되게 눈물이 많이 나요.
안전 선수가 계속 준우승도 많이 하시고 좀 실력은 좋고 잘하시는 것 같은데 좀 토스할 때 발목이 많이 잡히더라고요. 그냥 8강부터 생각하고 있어요. 16강은 이겼다 생각하고.
김도우 선수 되게 항상 쉽게 생각해왔었는데 근데 제가 거의 다 졌어요. 한 5대0 정도? 좀 졸렬하게 하는 것 같아요.
외국 팬분들이 뭐 치엔토스라고 부르고 있더라고요. 뭐 별거 없는 것보다 그냥 있는 게 나아서 좋게 받아들이고 있고 한지원 선수도 저랑 좀 비슷하게 한턱 하시더라고요. 약간 이런 것도 좀 자존심 대결이 있지 않을까 싶어요. 이번에 블리츠컨 처음 오는 걸로 알고 있는데 여기 미국에 관광할 때 많으니까 관광할 곳 좀 미리 알아두고 대회 끝나면 좀 여행 좀 다니길 바래.
그래서 이번에 꼭 복사하고 싶어. 우승하면 안 올 것 같은데. 우승하면 올 것 같아. 콩라인 탈출했다.
The battle of pride between two chins was the thing that stood out the most of that video there, In Control.
Really? You going to go to me with that? Yeah? I actually think they both have completely pleasing chins. And in some cultures, a larger chin means prominence. Like in the Jared Leto, or the Jay Leno people of Jay Leno's type.
I really like the classic plays dishonorably.
Yeah.
It's like we've talked a lot about how some protoses are cheesy and like, you know, like how we hate their play, but classic plays dishonorably has to be one of the most offensive things I've ever heard.
Oh.
I hope he knows that. You'll say that.
Isn't that a compliment for a Protoss player?
I guess.
In a way.
Depends
In a
what kind
way.
of
We've
Protoss you
all
are.
been called cheesy in our day, right? Did
Yeah.
it ever bother you when someone called you cheesy?
Depends who it was.
Why?
Some people I respected, it bothered me, but...
When Dario on a Smurf called you cheesy.
Oh, I loved it, because it
You
meant
liked
he
it?
lost.
Okay.
I'm sure the rivalry between you two can continue through into Heart of the Swarm. I mean, to Heroes of the Storm. I messed
Well,
that
it
one
will
up there.
continue at least through the heart of the storm, right?
All right, let's talk a little bit serious. Let's talk a little bit about Classic. Classic won Star League this year in Season 2. He also went to travel to the Intel Extreme Masters and was able to pick up that championship as well. And compared to last year, Todd, where he got top 4 at BlizzCon, a lot of people were very surprised at how well he did. But this year, it's a bit of a different story for him.
Yeah, he definitely goes into this tournament as one of the guys that we know can do well, and we wouldn't be too surprised if he actually went pretty far, unlike last year. And Classic is such an interesting character in the scene because for the results he put out and the player caliber is, he really doesn't have the same fan base than most other players will have.
And why is that?
And by same, he means very small, to be honest.
Why is that?
I don't know, man.
I don't know, Kev.
It's not looking all that good. Maybe it's related to the fact that I guess he's not really vocal ever about anything.
Yeah.
You know, like his interviews, for the most part, they're pretty basic. Even though, like in this one, he definitely opened up a little bit. It was like,
Yeah.
you know, people call me the chin toss and all. He was having a bit of a top banter there.
You look at ByuL, and Dario, backstage here, Tilo, should I say, you've called ByuL the most solid Zerg right now, if not the best Zerg in the world
Right.
currently.
So we have a little bit of a clash here. I mean, he called him dishonorable, and if you look at Classic, he's good, yeah, but he's definitely doesn't have that extremely high-level, consistent style. And ByuL goes into the series knowing that, so I'm pretty sure he's well prepared for anything coming his way.
And ByuL's the more kind of middle of the road, very secure, very safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
3 top
swarmy type
2s
Zerg,
this
right?
year is awesome. I mean, you look at last year with Sue, and everyone's like, you know, second place, second place, second place. ByuL's done it this year, and it's absolutely, you know, the highest level of consistency you can get, aside from winning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's funny because I remember this with Sue too. Everyone talked about like apologetically complimenting him with all those second place finishes, and it's kind of funny to talk about it that way. But even in their interview, they talked about goodbye Kong line, and he wants to get out of there. And winning is the monkey on his back. Like going to BlizzCon, making a name for himself, beating these other champions, and getting that first place prize would be the turnaround. Like you asked Todd, like both these guys, I think you can actually put ByuL in kind of a similar category where it's like for his results, his fandom is just not really there, and I feel like they don't have to be naked doing hula hoops to get those fans. They got to win big and they got to win prominently.
I mean, one thing that's really stood out with ByuL is his emotional side that we've really started to see over the last couple of months, because before he got to those second places, you could very easily, as you say, put him in the same category as Classic, but a lot of fans have really attached themselves to ByuL to hope he can succeed because they know how much it means to him, especially when he's broken down and cried on stage before.
yeah, I mean, people love tears. It is how it is.
Have you cried before?
If I have cried before in my life, yeah.
Have you cried before in a StarCraft tournament? I mean, I've seen a lot of your stuff, but you're going to know better than I will.
I think I have, yeah.
Did you cry on camera or
He's
off
shirtless
camera?
barbecued.
Like
I saw that video.
Half.
Yeah, there was a few WCS seasons. I remember you were like all
When
red.
I lost
and-
against MVP, I think. Because that season I felt really, really strong. I mean, I still made 5th place at that tournament and qualified for the Korean finals then. But WCS has sometimes been very frustrating to me. Like, losing there always.
Yeah.
But it's
Was a
just
bummer.
there's so much on the line. So
Yeah,
much
yeah.
at stake.
Right. And it's the same for these players. Obviously, you know, very similar
Oh,
level,
man.
but this is the global finals. This is huge. Let's take a look at the predictions then. Again, we're always going to be following this, so let's see where we've gone. And we've got a split so far between the guys. We have 3 for ByuL, 3 for Classic, and it's me, Nathanius, and Rotti who've gone for Classic, but you 3 have gone for ByuL.
This definitely feels like a real close match. I think it's seed 8 against
This is seed
9,
nine,
so that
correct,
doesn't really
correct.
get as close as this in terms of like where they finish in the rankings. So it's definitely open-ended. You know, I wouldn't be surprised like with anybody winning here.
But so you've both gone for ByuL. When I looked at the head-to-heads earlier, ByuL's never beaten Classic. He's never taken a map. He's never taken a series. Most notably in Starly, they did play when Classic won in the quarterfinals. But this time, you guys believe you can beat him?
So he's due, is what you're telling me.
Why? Why is ByuL going to win? Tell me.
I mean, I actually agree with Todd. I think it is 50-50. But the reason I went with ByuL in the end is because I feel like the more recent results and kind of ByuL being pretty consistently near the top lately, I feel like we're seeing an evolution of ByuL over time. Like, ByuL also was a Zerg where a year ago you weren't seeing those finishes, but he started placing so highly that all of a sudden it became something that he kept doing. And I feel like at BlizzCon, we're going to see him at least take a solid second place or somewhere in that realm. I feel like he's out of the round of 16.
I mean,
or beyond the round of 16.
I understand why you choose ByuL with Zerg, but you two are race traitors. Unfortunately, I have heard that the game is starting, so
That's
we
not
can't go on.
That's great.
Well, yeah,
I disagree with you.
I'm happy to be disagreed with in Control. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's always good to have you here on the couch, and we'll be seeing a lot more of you, Todd, a little bit later on. Do make sure to watch the games during the break.
Please.
It's time to go to the next
I'll do my
game.
best.
Your commentary team is going to be Rotty and Nate.
Thank you very much, guys. A battle, a pride between two chins, Roddy. What an excellent way for them to describe their own match.
Yeah, I thought in many ways about this match, but the Battle of the Chins was not really one of them. But I guess I'll take it. It's going to be one hell of a PvZ. Sean already mentioned it. Classic definitely a very good record in the past against ByuL. 6-0 in maps, but only one really relevant series. And that was in 2015, where he did win 3-0 in the quarterfinals. We're pretty much good to go with game number 1 that is going to be played, as you guys already know, on Coda. And that's not a shocker, Nate.
No, one of the most popular maps. You were saying it before we went live. So many PvZs, but it's time for ByuL versus Classic, one of the tightest series. 2 players ranked right next to each other in the World Championship Series. We are loaded in here on Coda in the top left position. From CJ Entes, we have ByuL.
Lots of hype there, Nate.
Yeah,
Nate's
I'm excited, man.
Nate's ready for 8 best of 5, well, 7 left. 7 best of 5 of StarCraft 2. On the right bottom side of Coda, we, of course, looking at the main base of our Red Protoss player that is representing SK Telecom. It is Classic. And Nate, I am excited to watch this man in action today. I almost forgot that he made it into the top 4 of BlizzCon last year. I found it a very surprising result. Because if I think of BlizzCon 2014, obviously you think of Live, you know, you think of some of the other guys that went far. I think of Teja still. But I was like, yeah, that's right. Classic did make it into the semifinals. And for some reason, this guy, despite winning a GSL, despite winning an SSL, despite winning an IEM, he's still overlooked sometimes. And of course, there are a couple diehard StarCraft fans out there right now that say, no, nobody overlooks Classic. Well, that's just not true, because he's not as popular as some of those other Protosses.
Yeah, and especially when you consider that players like ByuL have been a nightmare throughout all the leagues this year, and even still, people are going to come up with other names for Zerg players faster, like Life, who hasn't been as successful towards the tail end. So it's really both of these guys trying to reestablish the dominance, but also reminding everybody why they're here in the first place. Classic, I think he's just always been a fun player to watch, and I picked him to win this series because he really brought a lot of moxie in his series against Polt last year, who was the TVP monster, and Classic just had the perfect craziness mixed into his play to deal with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing a little unusual play from Classic in this series.
Yeah, the opening so far very standard. It was Nexus on the low ground into a gateway, so very economic opening for Classic. Even more economically focused was ByuL with his 2 hatcheries before the spawning pool. Now, you guys may think, is this going to be the opening they'll go for every single game? No, most likely not. These are actually 2 guys that switch it up. They don't go for the same openings 4 or 5 times in a row. I've went through a couple of the best of 3s, best of 5 recently. A lot of variation. There's a good chance we'll see some potential cannon rushes here. Classic is the type of guy, loves to open up with a Forge. If there is an opening to cannon rush, he'll gladly take it. He will do it. He will be that Protoss. Like ByuL said, he can be dishonorably, but he's also the type of guy that, alright, I went for a Forge, but you know, I don't think this is the best cannon scenario. Your drones are already here. I'll drop the pylon to fake you out, but I'll still play it, you know, macro focused. And I think that's going to be really cool, and I still think that's the right way to approach a PvZ matchup. Don't be too predictable, but that also goes for the Zerg.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things about the Protoss in this top 16 in general. You look at a guy like Classic who can mix it up, but then you've still got guys like Parting and SOS, and that's, you know, if you're a Zerg player, those are one of the last people that you want to have to play because they are so good at playing standard, but the weird builds they throw in will almost always catch you off guard.
For sure. Now, the default thing to go to for Classic, doesn't really matter how he opens, is a Stargate follow-up. He won't do it probably every single game, but he loves his single Oracle into a bunch of sentries into 3 bases. ByuL, on the other end, there was one trend in his playstyle a while ago. That is when these two guys went up against each other. This is going to be a quick Forge, by the way. A Forge before a Stargate. If he even makes a Stargate, maybe he won't. That would be a little bit surprising. There is something that ByuL really loved to do in the past, and that's something he did multiple games in a row against Classic when they played against each other a couple months. And that is that style of, I'm going up to 60, 65 drones. I'm going to drop all the tech, and then eventually I'll decide what I want to do, you know, if I want to make Hydras, if I want to make Roaches, or if I'm going to go to Mutalisk immediately. But that's something that is very risky against a play that is as decisive as Classic. If he sees an opening to win it, he will win it immediately. It is going to be the Stargate follow-up, by the way, but Nate, he went up to 3 bases of 1 gateway and a Forge before the Stargate. This is macro to the next level from Classic.
I mean, we see the fast 3-base play from Zerg all the time, but Classic making a move like this, you're assuming that the Zerg hasn't followed up with a fast speed, won't have a quick push to deny this base, and there's nothing like that on the way because, as you said, ByuL is just droning up. But if ByuL still against this picks that middle-of-the-road build, how bad is that for him?
I mean, this is even a layer before a spawning pool, excuse me, before Zergling speed, if he's even going to research it. It doesn't have to be super bad for ByuL, but I do not think that this is the ideal scenario to bank up a bunch of resources and try to go for a meta switch. Something that ByuL loves, and I'm confident we're going to see it at least one time this series. But the way that he's doing this so far, Nate, I feel this is just lining up to be a very strong Zergling Hydra attack. And I actually think that is extremely powerful because your layer is so quick, you know. He's getting a Roach Warren, but that could be a safety Roach Warren, you know, just in case. And I think that's very difficult to defend if you go up to 3 bases as quickly as Classic went, and you went for an Oracle. None of those things is very good against a quick Hydra attack.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you know, is the follow-up that Classic needs to defend against a Ling Hydra type play, can he even get it in time, or is he too delayed by this tech that he's getting?
I mean, it depends a lot on how much damage these Oracles will do, right? He's saving up Oracles. He's going to go for 2 Oracles, and there is not a single Spore Crawl on the map. ByuL, you're playing so greedy right now. There we do see that Spire already, and he's getting +1 melee. And these Oracles, Nate, these Oracles are going to kill at least 10 drones, but I think it's going to be closer to 15 even. There is not a single Spore Crawl on the map. These are 2 Oracles. One of them has been banking up energy. ByuL still doesn't know about this. This is a disastrous start for ByuL.
Yeah, here come the Oracles. They're going to swing right into that 3rd base mineral line. Immediately focus firing down the drones. The Spore Crawlers are on the way, but it's already a bit late. He sees the Spire at the same time, so if he looks back, he'll know what the tech follow-up is. 10, 11 drones killed. 1 Oracle does get picked off.
I think that was the one with more energy as well. I think that was the first Oracle that died. This one doesn't have a whole lot of energy left, but it's still not. Oh my God, we're looking at close to 17, 18 drones. Well,
good predictions, Roddy.
Yeah.
If this keeps up with your match picks, you got a good tournament ahead of you.
We're on the right side, Nate. Don't worry about it. 16 drones. I'm very surprised that ByuL can open up without Spore Crawlers, without scouting any sort of real tech against a player like Classic that goes, without exaggeration, Stargate in 80% of his PVCs. That is actually mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, and I mean, the Spire is going to finish up, but he saw the Spire while it was building. Pathogen Gland starts up, so we could see Infestor play.
Yeah, that is actually a cool thing, because Classic is known to be very ready for these, you know, these Muta transitions. So he's going to bank up a couple of Phoenixes. He's going to have 4 or 5 safety Phoenixes, as I like to call them, and then, of course, still make a bunch of Blink Stocks on the ground. What ByuL is probably hoping for is that he can maybe land a Fungo on those Phoenixes, kill them, and then try to start base trading with +1 Zerglings and Mutalisk, even though he's going up to Hive now already. Okay, well that I'm very surprised by, because I think Classic will always attack before he has Ultras.
Yes, it's going to be difficult for him to get that late game tech. We have the first 3 Infestors on the way, and as you mentioned, that Hive is still very far, which means Ultralisks are light years away at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
This Queen ventured a little far off creep. Phoenix take advantage of that.
This is just an excellent start so far for Classic. I feel that everything is going his way. He got away with pretty much the most greedy Protoss build in the book.
How much of a threat are those Lings running around in the map? Does he need to worry about them at all?
As much of a threat as I am to you in Legacy of the Void, Nate.
Wow, Roddy.
None. Because that's how good you are.
take the compliment. We're getting some poll results in here as this Oracle dies. Who do you guys think will win? Hashtag WCS on Twitter and hashtag which player you think will win. So far, 67% of you think ByuL's going to take it.
I mean, he's had a phenomenal year, and he is definitely one of the most consistent Zerg players in the world, maybe the most consistent. Now, that is a great snipe, but if I was Classic, I would just start a Warp Prism immediately because his Robo just finished up, and that's exactly what he does. He even gets a second Robo. Maybe he's a little bit, you know, in the dark of that real hive timing, you know, how close is he to hive?
He does pick off quite a few of these sentries. He burns out the force fields and the ones that are left alive, so ByuL gets some value out of those links. The pylon finishing up allows Classic to reinforce faster. What's really here to deal with this army, though? He has a good number of infestors. If he can catch those stalkers out in the open and get us around with the links, he could pick it all off.
Exactly. He doesn't want to burn the fungos on those phoenixes. The phoenixes will be able to lift up a couple of infestors.
Solid force fields. Solid force fields, though, keep the links from getting on top of the stalkers as he blinks towards that northeast base. He kills the Hydralisks as they spawn, and the Phoenix actually helped prevent the infestors from retreating. He's going to clean up the entire Zerg army. All that's on the way to reinforce are a handful of Hydralisks and 40 Zerglings. Meanwhile, Zealots with charge finishing up very soon, hitting from the west. GG.
Wow, Classic takes game number 1 on Coda pretty decisively. After, I really think the key point here is just ByuL was not ready for the Oracles.
Yeah.
I find that shocking, man. Like, ByuL has played against Classic multiple times in the past. You know, he played a very important quarterfinals against him this year. Every game, Classic had a Stargate. Every game. Mostly it was Oracle opening, sometimes it was Phoenixes just to deal with it. But Classic loves his Oracles. He loves Oracle tree bait into, you know, whatever is necessary to deal with the Zerg army there. How can you go up to 65 drones, don't scout, and not have spore crawlers? I don't know, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it was surprising.
Yeah,
for sure.
he did surprise me that game.
I have to say, though, you know, you look at how most people perceive Protoss and the way that they pick their strategies, is that you can't just do the same thing every game. What about the way that Classic does this makes it so well-rounded that it's okay for him to do it over and over without being punished?
Because a single Oracle always forces out a little bit of a reaction, right? Like, you don't need an Oracle to kill 10 drones. You need an Oracle to see what's going on. You force out a couple spore crawlers, you see where the army is going on. So, like, opening up with one Oracle is not a massive commitment. The 2 Oracle opening, that is a little bit surprising. He doesn't always do that. And, I mean, man, he got a dream scenario. Finding 2 Zerg bases without spore crawlers, well, hey. Even my Oracles would do a lot of damage there, Nate, and I'm not a great Oracle pilot.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's definitely one of those Windows 10 replays you want to save for a while, Kev, running in and getting all those kills with those Oracles. And with so much on the line, you know, to leave yourself vulnerable like that really showed how difficult it was to recover after you take a big economic hit like that. And the Oracle that was left alive still managed to grab a few drones here and there throughout the course of that game.
Yeah, and of course, got to give credit where credit is due there. That final timing there by Classic, you know, he didn't waste any time. This is something I mentioned in the start. He's very decisive. If he sees an opportunity to win, I mean, all these great Protoss players have it, don't get me wrong, but he just goes for it. He's like, you're probably waiting for a lot of units to pop right now, so I should go right here, right now. Lifts up 2-3 infestors. Nothing you can do as ByuL because you don't want to burn 3-4 fungos on 3 Phoenixes. You know, you just don't do that. So he was forced to wait. He lost an infestor, you know, and then he didn't get the fungus he was hoping for. The 10 Hydras could have been enough if they all came from the same time at the same place, but that didn't happen. 4 or 5 Hydras got picked off immediately, and well, that's game number 1. We're getting ready for game number 2.
That's right. We're going to go into Cactus Valley for map number 2. In the northwest position, spawning as the blue Zerg player, we have ByuL.
Gonna have to bounce back. Is 0-7 right now in his career against his opponent that is spawning on the left bottom side of Cactus Valley. He's representing SK Telecom. It is Classic. And
showing the strength in that Chin Foundation with the solid game 1 pickup, Roddy.
Yeah, and it's not just winning game 1. It's winning game 1 where everything goes right for you. There's no better feeling for a competitive player in the world where you open up with 2 Oracles, you know, a little bit risky, and then you kill 17 drones and you just immediately, you're feeling in the zone. All nerves are lost because you know you're not going to give away that game anymore. If that would have happened, that would have been devastating. It's like, oh my god, I just had the best start ever and I somehow lost, but you know, everything just went according to plan for Classic.
Yeah, I really like the way that you presented that, Kev. He had a plan, he executed it, and nothing went wrong. And, you know, looking at this for ByuL, you could say, okay, maybe he should tighten things up. Does this open up an opportunity for Classic to maybe do something, you know, to throw him off?
He tried to see if he could find the Overlord there, but he didn't see it in time. Now he's like, gonna try again. Do I see it? No, I can't catch a glimpse. but you can't see. Well, I mean,
doesn't know.
I think he can smell it. I think that's why he's just hovering around. So Overlord.
Does that probe have a nose?
I can imagine that Overlord being a little smelly. Tiny little nose, you know.
That little cheeky blue spot on the front of the probe, he can tell.
So it's going to be another Nexus first into a gateway follow-up while ByuL is going to go again. Of course, ByuL saw what is going on, so the double hatch before pool is not as shocking, you know, answer to a Nexus first into a gate. He knows he has absolutely nothing to worry about when it comes to cannons and stuff, despite the fact that this is a 4-player map. So I think ByuL's response here makes perfect sense.
He's, you know, building himself up slowly. So the key difference is then, if we're going to look at, you know, compared to game number 1, what does ByuL need to do to make sure that doesn't happen? Can he afford to blindly build Spore Crawlers if he's not able to get a good scout?
I think if you open up double hatch before pool, you can get up to 55 drones without making a single set of Zerglings. Yes, absolutely, you can afford at least 1 spore per base.
Right.
But I think it's much more important, instead of building blind spores, like at least try to make an effort. If you don't want to send in that Overlord, okay, so you have 2 choices, right? Either you sacrifice the Overlord and hope you see what you're looking for, or you build blind spores. But at least one of the 2 has to happen.
It certainly didn't work in the last game to just really not, well, not obviously not seeing it hurts quite a bit, but not having the Spore Crawlers just in case against someone that you pointed out elegantly just goes for Stargate so much.
Yes, you know, in a best of 5, it's very likely that if it goes to distance, he goes Stargate 3 out of 5 games, if not 4 out of 5. That's how much Classic loves his Stargate play. So, you know, it's just something that you have to always worry about, something you have to always be ready for.
And so far, nothing insane happening just yet. Curious if ByuL's going to delay his Zergling speed as long as he did in the last game, if he's still not worrying about any aggression. This poor little probe, Kev, he's running.
He's not gonna make it. This is one of those dreams.
Oh.
This is one of those dreams you have as a kid, you know, when there are 2 monsters chasing you and you're like, almost saved.
And there's Zealot's right there, the big brother.
Yep.
He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's like,
coming.
brother.
It's like, sorry, he's too slow.
That's what I dream of, Nate. When I have two animals chasing me, and then I see you in the distance, and I'm running
I'm
towards
just
you.
not fast enough.
Yeah. But and then I wake up
I'm the slow
screaming.
Zealot.
Oh, after game number 1, a lot of people
There
right
we go.
now. Yeah.
Bring out your tweets, boys.
They're helping on the bandwagon right now. So this is interesting. This time it's Zealot, Stark as Sentry. Now there is still a chance that Classic tries to go up to 3 bases in the same fashion as he did in the previous game, because again, ByuL went 3 hatchery, but no, this time it's different. 2 extra gates go down. Could just be 3 gates into expand. Could also be something very weird, but he doesn't have any probe on the map. He has no sort of map presence right now, so it's very unlikely he's going to drop 7 gates and goes for an 8 gate. You know, you don't do that if you don't have a probe on the map.
He does need a pylon to reinforce a big push. Not that easy to get out there. So without a robo as well, no possibility for a War Prism to help in this situation.
Well, ByuL has definitely been listening to us. This time he's going to... I mean, this is good, right? Because he didn't sacrifice an Overlord. He doesn't know what we know. This time he doesn't need those spores yet, but I really don't mind seeing these spores go down. Just, you cannot afford to not have any information and not have Spore Crawlers. It's one of the 2.
It's just reckless, Roddy. Don't play StarCraft that recklessly. So there is a lot on the line here, and another hit like that Oracle push in the last game could, you know, you don't want to leave this tournament saying, if only I had just scouted or built a Spore Crawler.
No, he's going to get the safety Roach one as well, just in case there's going to be some gateway pressure. These slow links will identify that Classic is going up to 3 bases already. One Overlord did get taken care of, but the Overlord did see the amount of sentries, so he probably realizes, ooh, that, you know, this is a little different, and we're going to see something very cool over here. Burrow already being resourced.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so we have the hallucinated Oracle going in, obviously not going to kill anything, but the setup for Classic is a bit different. He's completely skipped the Stargate. Does this open himself up to get that perhaps +2 and blink fast enough that he can deal with the Burrow, or is this still a really strong play from ByuL regardless?
It depends a lot, I think. If Classic goes 3 gates and then a Robo, which is exactly what he does, I think he can deal with burrowed roaches. If he would have gone 7, 8 gate Blink Stalker and a super late Robo, which is, you know, something that some of the European producers have done for a while, then I think it's very weird. But, you know, again, I really like everything I see from here, from Classic. Where is that? Is that the Robo? Okay, the Robo is in a kind of a tricky spot. Good thing is that every Immortal he builds is going to be there immediately. Bad thing about this is that, you know, if he ever has to give up that position temporarily, he's going to lose the Robo. And if you lose the Robo against Burrow Roaches and Hydras, most of the time you end up losing the game.
And I also think it's important to note that due to the way he opened, there is a cannon at the third, but not one by the natural that I can see. So it's possible that before he realizes that the Burrow Roach play is happening, he could slip some few through to the main or the natural and then hit that third base from the side.
Yeah, and there was an Overlord / Overseer lurking around, and it saw the robotics facility, and I really think that if ByuL didn't see the robo facility, I don't think he would have made the Hydra den that quickly. But now he realizes, like, okay, my opponent actually has a pretty quick robo. Burrowed Roaches, they're probably still going to be relatively useful, but I need something else as well. Man, he's even taking his fourth base already, taking the extractors. Hydra then wouldn't be surprised to maybe eventually see a Spire, but right now that would be wrong. Like, he needs money to go into his army.
Yeah, he has Hydralisk range upgrading right now as the first Immortal is coming out. We have +2 in Blink, so very standard PvZ composition coming out of here for Classic, very heavily focused on Blink Micro. 10 Hydras on the way, Kev. ByuL, 75 drones. Can he build the army he needs?
Yeah, I mean, eventually you can, but I don't really like this, actually. This is all he has. He's going to sacrifice a couple of Roaches. Well, it was only 2, maybe 3. So that wasn't too bad, but...
He gives up that he has Burrow moves well on these Roaches, so... I mean, it's possible he would have seen the Roaches that had the upgrade either way, but you usually want to get a little bit more out of that investment. And perhaps we'll see it later if this game drags on to the point where he really can spread out Classic's defenses.
I mean, this is going to be interesting now real soon. He needs a couple of Overlords. ByuL, you can't be supply blocked in this phase in the game. You need to build a lot of units. You're very rich. So at the moment you're supply block, every supply block is a very big one. And this is a big one, man. He still didn't start the Overlords. Now he does. He's going to go up to Hive as well. But I kind of feel that this is the moment where Classic wants to start marching out, you know, see what's going on. He's probably a little bit worried about how many units did my opponent truly make, where are they? Because normally Burrow is a very aggressive spell, right? You don't go Burrow just to go up to Hive, so maybe that's why Classic is a tiny bit confused about what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the Hive is not even halfway done yet. We have Hydralisk speed on the way. This army, it's like
Blink.
It's a little poke push, really. This isn't anything that... This is not what I would qualify as a force to be reckoned with, Roddy.
No, I wouldn't press that button on the soundboard just yet, Nate.
No. We have a Spire and a Baneling Nest starting up, though. Baneling Nest. Maybe trying to get some other value out of his Burrow? Or is he putting it against the Bane Rain?
I don't think Burrowed Banelings is what he's hoping for. Maybe, I have actually no idea. I mean, Banelings can be good against Zealots, and they're very good against Sentries if you can get them close enough. But yeah, Burrowed Banes is not a very popular play against Protoss, because Protoss armies move kind of slow. And
they usually have an Observer
exactly,
with them.
They usually have an Observer, so it's not like you accidentally step on a bunch of Banelings either. I'm not too sure about it. We'll see. He's 90 drones though, Nate.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of spine crawlers set up as well to cover those expansions. 7 in production right now, covering that northeast area and that outer base.
I do like that. I've seen some crazy plays from ByuL when it comes to making a bunch of defensive spines in the past. He had a really sick game a while ago. He even made a couple of Swarmos. Now that's not going to be the case. 7 Infestors as well. Now, Cactus Valley is a great force field map, but what it also means is that Protoss armies will clump up, obviously. You know, because the choke points are kind of narrow, so that means that maybe a couple of fungals could be very good. It's very interesting to see how this game got to where we are right now.
He needs to be careful about those Infestors, though. The first fungal's going to hit. The force fields aren't enough to push the rest of those forces away, but a few more fungals on the sentries could get rid of the rest of those force fields and Guardian shields.
Yep, he doesn't want to stick around too much longer.
Oh, he's attacking the rocks while he's taking some hits from that Zerg army, too. First Immortal even getting caught on the north side.
Still alive, but the fungal will take care of it. The fungal should take care of the Immortal. Now a lot more stocks coming in from the south side as well. The Spinecrawl is still helping out so much, though.
A really sloppy engagement so far, kind of going weird both ways here, but Classic continues to push forward. The aggressive Blink, Blinding Cloud right on top of all those Stalkers as they're fungled. A second fungal is going to hit. None of this army is firing. The Immortals move in now as the Blinding Cloud wears away, but those Spinecrawlers are also throwing a lot of extra power into this fight. No more fungals, but the drones are going to come out the third base mineral line. Few more Lings are going to pour out, but it seems like Classic might have too much, Roddy.
Yeah, there's just not enough units over here for ByuL. He has a lot of production. He still has a lot of money as well. 11 on minerals, but Classic, no time to waste, goes up 2-0 in this series, where the first attack just ends it.
Man, that takes a lot of confidence, knowing that he can push into a choke point versus Infestors and Blinding Clouds. and spine crawlers with queens prepared to go for defensive transfuses. That's like an ideal setup defensively for a Zerg player, and Classic just abused him.
Yep, Classic just with a relentless attack there, and I think ByuL was a little too indecisive. I mean, he made his Spire. Did we ever see a unit out of it? No. He made a Baneling Nest. Did we ever see a unit out of it? No. He went up too high. What did he get out of that? One Blinding Cloud. Like, that's a lot of things piling up. And then, let's not forget, he also had 1100 resources in the bank during that final fight. You know, he really has to make up his mind, and he needs a better game plan. Even Burrow, you know, another investment. What did he get out of it, Nate? I mean, maybe if he wouldn't have seen the robo that quick, he would have actually wanted to make a lot more roaches, but it just seems that ByuL is getting, you know, the worst end out of all these minor, not even engagement, but sort of strategic traits.
I also feel like this comes down as we get ready to move on to Terraform from F3. This comes down to what you were telling me in Game 1 about how ByuL sometimes makes he kind of all over the place with his tech, but he's not as decisive. And Classic was very decisive in that push. If that wasn't decisive, I don't know what is. He pushed straight into that, knowing he had enough to win, because ByuL was fumbling over his tech. He had so many options available, but didn't commit hard enough to any one option that he had enough to actually survive.
And Classic showed a lot of heart and commitment in his push over there as well. His sentries got fungled. A lot of pros players they panic a little bit, you know. It's like, oh, couple chain fungals, maybe I should recall. No, he's like, no. These units are going to be less valuable later on. I don't want to give my opponent time. He's probably very rich. You know, I'm just going to stick it out and see how I do. And it was enough. I do feel that if they would play that game again, I think ByuL can defend there if he spends his resources a little smarter and a little better. And let's not forget, Classic again having the upper hand in mind games. 3 spores going down. This time, he didn't need them. Game number 1, he didn't need them. He didn't have them. These are all small things that do really add up.
Yeah, and this guy in the bottom right of Terraform has had a rough series. Can he steer things back in control? It's CJ Ensis' ByuL. Tough start to this series.
Little in control shout out there. I like it.
Yeah,
a good one.
You know.
On the left top side of Terraform, we're looking at the main base of our red Protoss player. He made it to top 4 BlizzCon last year and wants to do it again. It is Classic. This guy, Nate, just does not stop winning. Had a great year. He said, I think this was an okay year for me. No, Classic, it was a great year. You won the Intel 3 Masters in Shenzhen. You won an SSL in a final against a Terran player that looked like he was invincible in TVP. This was more than an okay year, Classic. This was a great year, but of course he would like to have that crowning achievement of maybe making it to the final of BlizzCon or even go all the way.
Yeah, it certainly isn't going to get any easier moving forward with guys like CJ Entis Hero waiting in wake, and quite a few other very strong PvP players, but he still has to finish off ByuL if he wants to make it out of here. He's in a very comfortable position, Kev. Does he need to just play his straight-up normal game? Is it worth trying to hide anything at this point?
I mean, he's going to switch it up a little bit. That's what I said, right? Like, Classic is not a guy that goes Nexus first 5 times in a row and followed up with a Gateway. This time it's going to be Gateway first on the low ground. Also doing that little fake cannon rush thing. You know, there's a lot of resources that are being wasted right now. Won't be surprised if he... I think he will cancel it this time because he knows the Overlord is close, yeah. Sometimes he lets it finish if the Overlord can't see if there is a forge or not, but obviously Terraform 2-player map Classic knows that ByuL will get that information. But still, you know, that was a good trade. 25 resources against 4 drones, not mining for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I always sign for that.
He managed to bait him in it. This is also a really cool way to do it as well, because you're not just throwing a different build, you're making him think he might be cheesing you. And if you're down 0-2 and you think you're getting cheesed, that's where that pressure can really start to mount. You're like, oh goodness, is this how it's going to end? Yep,
this time it's going to be a spawning pool follow-up as well. Could be for multiple reasons. A, he may have been worried about that cannon rise being real, and B, eventually the Overlord did see that there was a gateway as well, and if you go hatch pool and they chrono boost out the first zealot and run it across the map, that can be very annoying to deal with.
Yeah, so already ByuL's kind of been thrown off of that normal track that we've seen him go for time and time again. Also, of course, noting that a lot of Zerg players usually like to, we've seen this year at least, try to make plays off of the gold base, but ByuL's been kind of funneled into this very normal Zerg opening, and with the confidence that Classic has shown and his decisiveness, I feel like this is another reasonable start for him.
Yeah, and let's not forget, throughout their careers right now, Classic is 8-0 against ByuL. I know ByuL is one of the absolute best Zerg players in the world, and his results have been, you know, representing what the best Zerg player in the world will do, but most of those really impressive wins and victories came against non-Protoss players. He won a couple of series though. He won a very close and amazing series against Deer, where the final game was actually played played on Terraform. So he has done it before, but I feel a lot of the other victories over Protoss often came down to him running links by, you know, him getting away with something, an opponent not being ready for Mutalisk and stuff like that. Players like Classic, you know, at BlizzCon right now, the overall level is so high. It's very hard to rely on, you know, on unforced error, so to speak, hoping that my opponent doesn't have a Zealot in hold position and stuff. You can't really rely on that. So if you want to win, you know, ZVPs in these against these world-class processes, it pretty much has to be very straight up, very straightforward, and that is the one thing that ByuL hasn't been very convincing in throughout this year.
And it's certainly showing now. And you have to think it's so much pressure to win 3 maps in a row. That poll getting a little bit closer. I was thinking it might run away in Classic's favor.
I would have expected it to be 80% of Classic by now, but guys, it was kind of 80% Classic all the way. When Roddy and Nathanius and Apollo vote for Classic, those are the guys to go with.
Yeah, there's no question. Doesn't even need to be restated. Completely agree. Just drones on the way for ByuL. So are we going to see him go for that myriad of tech options like he's shown so far in this series, or is he going to stick to something now? Does he realize what's costing him these games yet, or?
I mean, both games we find kind of unique, right? And this is a completely different you know, opening scenario again. But I do feel if you look back at this series, I think ByuL missed a small opportunity in game number 1. If he has 3 Spore Crawlers and he would have dropped the Hydra then immediately and then Zergling speed later on, I think if he runs across the map with nothing but Hydras, I think he wins. I think that is so difficult to stop if you go up to 3 bases as quickly as Classic went and you went double Oracle. So I think he might be thinking about that, but doing that in a decisive game when everything is on the line Terraform, you know, you're down 0-2, you're BlizzCon, hopes and dreams. That's just, it's a very difficult call to make.
Yeah, he doesn't commit as much to the blind defense this game, though. Only 1 Spore Crawler in the 3rd base mineral line for ByuL. So he's, you know, he's watching himself a little bit, but he's not as on edge as he was in game number 2.
That's most of the time where if it's a single Oracle opening, that where the Oracle will fly towards too. And it's also the base that most of the time, if there are DTs on the map, you know, nothing. We know that there is nothing to worry about, but something that ByuL can know, that the DTs will most likely strike. So it makes kind of sense if you go for 1 Spore and then build it in your third base.
All right, so Hallucinated Phoenix runs by. He sees the lair, sees this shimmering pool and the macro hatch. Does this tell him anything worth knowing, Roddy?
Well, it's kind of hard to say what it means exactly, but that 4th hatchery is a little bit of a tell, right? Like if you make Roach Hydra, well upgraded Roach Hydra, and try to go up to Hive eventually, do you really need a macro hatch that quickly? All the gases as well as Funka is showing, or Flo, I'm actually not sure. Funka, it's Funka. Yeah, I know it's Funka. So he might be wondering about it, but obviously Classic, you know, if I know all these things about ByuL, you know, ByuL loving to go spy, ByuL loving to base trade, ByuL loving to bank up.
You need a lot of larva to mass up those links, Kevin.
Exactly, especially because you put all of your gas into Mutalisk, but then you will have some expendable minerals and you want to put those into Zergling, so you need that larva from an extra.
So it's a nice change-up. We're seeing something that looks like a very decisive move so far. We do have the Infestation Pit, so he can move into Hive for either upgrades or ultras later on.
And I like the +1 of the links. It just helps in killing stalkers, helps in base trading and stuff like that. And it's very important to do stuff like this. You know, he's not achieving anything with these links, but you know what he is doing? Preventing Classic from scouting, exactly like Funka's pointing out. Whenever you see stuff like this, you're worried. Maybe it's Link Hydra, you know, you don't know what's going to happen as a Protoss. Right now, you're not thinking about Mutalisk yet. And as a Zerg player, you always want the Protoss to think about Mutalisk when it's too late, when they're flying across the map. I don't think ByuL's going to make them immediately, though. I said this before. Well, actually, this time 12 is, I guess, a pretty reasonable amount. But
acceptable.
Yeah. So he's just going to go for it, man. This is going to be a wild base rate game. How many Immortals are there? Just 1. So that is good news for Classic. You know, you don't want to have 3 Immortals when you play against Mutaling. That's very deadly.
Yeah, the Stalker's going to get warped and try to deal with this. Overseer, of course, spotting. He wants to know, since there's not even any pylons in that main base mineral line, by the way, he couldn't even start a Photon Cannon. Now he knows about the Spire, but still pretty tricky.
Trust on a Dark Shrine immediately.
Is he preparing for that possible base trade scenario?
Yeah, I mean, Dark Shrines are great in base trading. Dark Shrines are great in when you're only defending against Mutalisk, that you at least have some sort of map presence, right? That you can get a couple of DTs, and DTs can morph into Archons, and Archons are pretty much the best unit in the game against Lynx and Hydras at the same time. This is a great catch, by the way.
Yeah, getting rid of this Warp Prism means that ByuL can stay on the aggressive, and suddenly we're seeing a scenario where he's actually got a little bit of momentum now. It's not completely one-sided like the last 2 maps.
And in all the other games I've seen of Classic, whenever he was thrown into this scenario, he had a Stargate, so he would be able to start making a couple Phoenixes. So I was very curious to see what he's going to do now. He drops both Stargates. Now, a lot of Protoss players have different opinions about whether or not this is the right play. Some Protoss say, no, you just defend with Stalkers and Archons, Cannons, and then eventually run across the map and win. Some Protoss say, like, nah, it's always good to get those defensive Stargates and, you know, try to get up a couple Phoenixes. But the reason why it's questionable is that these Phoenixes, Nate, are going to be so late that if ByuL does nothing but build Mutalisk, which he's actually not doing now, but if he would do that, you're gonna have 2, 4, 6 Phoenixes against 35, 40 Mutalisk, and you know that's just a no-go.
Yeah, it's not going to work. We do have the Hive coming close to completion, though. As you said, he's not going straight away into Mutalisks anymore. Dark Templar are coming in, but they have to be worked in at home, so it's going to be pretty difficult to actually get them anywhere useful.
Well, they will start marching across the map, and we'll keep a close eye on them, see if they achieve anything eventually. But I kind of feel that this is exactly what ByuL wants, you know? Stay as passive as you want. Try to get up Phoenixes, even +1 by the way. Classic always does that, immediately gets +1. It's very good because Phoenixes attack twice, so +1 on Phoenixes is something I really love as a Protoss player. But this is what ByuL wants, you know? Stay defensive, make Phoenixes. By the time you actually want to attack, I've got Ultras, and well, you can kill all the mutas if you want, but my Ultras are gonna wreck. However, these Dark Templars are doing way more damage than ByuL expected, I guess, because he didn't see them run across the map.
Oh, he's just gonna snipe that natural hatchery. There's an Overseer on the way, but it's not in position.
It could have been a lot better though, Nate. It could, I don't think he's gonna get this. Well, actually, he's gonna get it. He's easily gonna get it because there's no Queens to transfuse. But one hatch. I imagine,
for 4 DTs?
Yeah, for 4 DTs, 4 drones, and I don't think this is that great. It would have been great if Classic had a follow-up plan here, you know, immediately counter or something. But that's not really the case either. He could have killed the Ultralisk Cavern, because I believe it's yeah, exactly, it's right there. I think that would have been a sicker snipe. Delaying those Ultras, I think that would be very, very useful.
Okay. I actually...
That's
a really good point. That's a really good point. The Ultralisk tech would have been set so far back because you need the upgrades from the Ultralisk Cavern as well.
Yep. And look, okay, this is kind of sloppy. A couple of free Overlords. It's very satisfying as a Protoss player to kill Overlords with Phoenixes, Nate. It's actually the most satisfying thing in the game.
That's, I actually do quite enjoy that quite a bit.
Couple spines go down, but you know, by the time that Classic is going to have all these Phoenixes, like I said, these Mutas, they'll just be sacrificed, man. They'll be sacrificed for the greater good. 17 Mutas, they may not have killed a whole lot, but they bought all the time in the world. It's 4 base against 3. It's Ultralisk tech against... It was a single robo. Now I think the second robo has finished up just barely.
Yep.
But, you know... I kind of like this for ByuL. I think this has been a very good game of ByuL. If he loses this, Nate, I'd be a little bit surprised because I really felt that this game, other than those DTs killing the hatch that maybe shouldn't have happened, I feel everything went exactly the way that he would have loved to see it happen.
And this is exactly what he needs to keep his BlizzCon dreams alive here at the Global Finals. That Zealot, no, his shoulder's not quite broad enough. Few Lings do slip by. I love this. Picks up his own Immortal just to make sure it can't get targeted. Those Immortals are so crucial for destroying these Ultralisks.
Indeed, very smart move. It wouldn't have died against 3 or 4
next wave of Lings is coming up too. As he recloses the wall, he's going to take some hits at this gold base. ByuL's trying to run by again. That Zealot, he's been put in the right position, but there's a lot of Lings.
Yeah, and there is an Immortal this time behind it as well. And even though Immortals are not great against Lings, if only 1 Ling at a time can attack a Zealot, it helps out. It adds up. But it's okay for ByuL. He's getting rid of it. He's getting rid of a couple of these Lings. He's gonna get his Greatest Spire as well. And Classic is so sick, by the way. He has like a 3rd sense for knowing when to play against Broodlords. He always gets the Fleet Beacon. Let's not forget, he already has +1. So if he gets a couple of Tempests out as well, you know, Tempests are very good. Obviously, it's very key for ByuL to hit as hard and quick as possible. When the Tempest count is only at 3 at best, you know, no more than 3, and then maybe you can abduct 1 Tempest, and you know, for 2 Tempests to kill 5 or 6 Broodlords takes forever.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting scenario here. Watch out, those Stalkers could actually all die if the Infestation managed to get them. These Phoenix are flying very close. It could be the other way around as well, though. The
if he can lift them all, well, he grabs one, but another couple fungals are going to land as the Mutas come in and actually moves the Phoenix back on top of each other, so that's going to really aid these Mutas in the battle. So the air control actually does get swept up, and suddenly it's
It's actually kind of seems a bit scary trying to get those Tempests in position if you were to go for them. Now 5 Broodlords are on the way as this ground army begins to push. It's just Ultralisks. He needs time to finish up those Broodlords.
Yeah, but I don't think you can step on creep there against still
because there's still Blinding Cloud too.
Yep, Blinding Cloud, Fungo, couple Spines, and Classic knows
3
as well.
Tempests in production, Roddy. Is this what he needs? Just keep cranking him out. What else? What of his supply would he trade away? Because he's close to maxing out here.
You kill your own Zealots, so just send them to the right top side of the map and hope they kill a hatchery or a bunch of drones. Well, he's definitely not going to kill the hatchery, but
he did warp in a few Dark Templar as well to try to put some pressure on it, seems.
No, you want to get rid of the Zealots. The Zealots are the most useless supply there. Eventually, you want to get rid of a couple Stalkers as well. There's no need to have that many, but for now, the Zealots is the first thing he has to get rid of. And even the Sentries, like Sentries don't really help out that much anymore in this phase of the game.
All right, well, the DTs are going to run over towards that third base. Lings are trying to get in position. There's a bunch of Spines and Spores at every single base now for ByuL, so he's in a great position defensively speaking.
Can get an Infestation Pit or something, or maybe gets the Spore actually, because the Spines are so out of position. Oh man, and ByuL just wants to attack now. That's a really unfortunate moment to have to worry about DTs.
Oh goodness. Yeah, so the army's going to push up here. That Nexus is actually helping to body block against these Ultralisks. The Tempests are on the way to deal with the Broodlords. He's got a lot of firepower on the ground as he takes out the third base. Can the Tempests get the damage done that they need? The Mutas are going to have to run in with some help from the Infestors if they want to clear this out, but the Stalkers jump forward. He's picking off the Broodlords. The first Blinding Cloud's going to hit, but some of the Immortals are still able to fire at the Ultralisks.
Yep, and there are no Queens either, so no Transfuse. I actually think this is going to go very well for Classic. He should be able to clean up the majority of this army over here from ByuL. He did end up losing the Nexus. Even these Mutas, by the way, did relatively decent work.
He cleaned up the Broodlords, he cleaned up the Ultralisks. 1 Viper and a handful of Corruptors will escape. Where's the supply going? What else is coming? 9 Ultralisks and 50+ Lings.
Yeah, so keep on making Tempests. That's what ByuL says right now. From my part, you make all the Tempests in the world.
He didn't even lose all of his Immortals, though.
Tempest, but I mean, I think it's fine, though, because there are no Archons, and this army is not good against an insane amount of Zerglings that are well operated. Zerglings, you shouldn't send them in before the Ultras are here, though. I mean, Lings are great, don't get me wrong, but you need a couple of Ultras. Where are they?
And this is a pretty tricky position to be in. The Corruptors are going to try to take some shots at these Tempests, but now most of the Lings are cleaned up. That's actually a really good point, Kev, because if these Immortals focus fire down on the Ultras, they could have enough to do it.
Just imagine if the Lings were here right now when these Ultras show up. That would have been an absolute massacre. It's still going to be too risky for Classic to stick around. He's going to try to establish his fourth base. Very important, by the way, because main base obviously dried up. Natural,
very
running
low.
Very, very thin, I assume. Couple patches gone already. Few more Infestors. I would love to see a healthier combination of Infestors and Vipers, you know? Not just one Viper. I'd like to see a little more. And I don't really understand why he made those Corruptors. I would completely ignore the Tempest. Tempest, it takes forever to do anything.
Yeah. Perhaps he's worried that he's going to continue to produce them. I'm honestly not entirely sure myself. Kev, Zealot Warping is going to be brought in here to help defend against this Ling run by. Some of them will slip over towards the main.
I guess what the Corruptors will do is make sure that the Tempest, unless you prioritize it better, the Tempests are probably going to shoot at the Corruptors. So that means that they won't do the extra damage to the Ultras, you know? It's more of like a meat shield.
Fair enough.
Big mothership.
Draws the AI.
Mothership.
The mothership is on the way, getting that defensive cloaking for the army. Psionic Storm is being researched as well. Notice the Zealots don't think they actually have charge, though. They're moving a little bit slow trying to catch those Lings earlier.
I'm actually amazed by all these things that Classic can afford. He lost 4,000 resources less than ByuL did in this game, but he's triple Stargate with +1, double Robo, bunch of gates, and now he's getting Tempest, Storm, and now he's also getting a mothership. He mined a little bit of
I like the Oracle, though. If he can use Revelation to get vision on that army from afar, he can give those Tempests some extra value, getting pot shots off before an engagement even happens.
That is indeed super important. I think like the longer that ByuL waits, the better that Classic army becomes eventually. You know, the Zealots are being sacrificed to free up a little bit of supply.
We are not good versus Ultras. Run somewhere else.
And I actually think it's nice that Classic lost a bunch of probes before. He's only on 59 workers now, which I think is perfectly fine in this phase in the game. You got all your infrastructure, you got the majority of the upgrades that you want. You don't need 65, 70 workers anymore. You know, even as long as you got 50 probes mining, that's more than enough.
Yeah, so this army is closing in now on these Stalkers. He's going to try to run in and just snipe the Hive. There is a Queen there, though, but it looks like enough energy for at least one Transfuse in this position. There's a Spine Crawler, too. He blinks down, trying to focus fire it. Will another Queen get in position in time to help save the Hive? No. Another Transfuse, but no, it does get picked up. Blinks behind this mineral patch, so Ultralisks actually can't close, so they're going to try to hit this Greater Spire as well, but not that good. But at the same time, this army repositions to the north.
What a cool move there by Classic. Really getting maximum value out of a bunch of Stalkers in this phase in the game. Now he's going to sacrifice a few more, but it's not just a useless sacrificial. No, he's getting drones. He got a hive, but killing a hive is so freaking big. If you lose your Ultra's Cavern or your Great Aspire right now, you can't make those units forever.
And this is a big daddy army now that we have from Classic, is that Mothership is ready to rock and roll. Void Rays being produced, which are good versus pretty much all the late game tech, the Broodlords, the Corruptors, and the Ultralisks.
Yep, I think it's very smart to make a bunch of Void Rays now. Of course, Infestors can be very good against them, but it's very hard to land all the fungus that you're looking for. Queens are good, but there's only 5 Queens on the map, and they're going to need their energy to transfuse the Ultras. Man, I love Classic's army. Classic has got himself in a very good position again.
Perfect revelation. Those Broodlords cannot get close anymore, or they will be picked off by the very high-range Tempests.
You know, if I was ByuL, eventually I'd be looking for a fight, but I have no idea what to remax on. I think it's always very, very tempting to remax on Mutalisk, but against a guy that has 4 Stargates and +2, do you really want to remax on Mutalisk?
That's risky. First Storms are going to get thrown out as the Corruptors try to move in on these Tempests. That defensive cloak from the Mothership makes it so easy to retreat in this position. And the Tempests, they can just shoot from so far away. He has vision of the Broodlords.
Yep, and he has +1, and he has plenty of Tempests as well. I don't think it was that smart to make that many Broodlords against somebody who has so many Tempests already, and has excellent upgrades as well. All these Queens right now, Nate, those Queens are not going to make it home safe, so that's very frustrating. Because late game, you really want to have a bunch of Queens. You know, you want to have more than 5 even.
The anti-air in general is becoming very, very weak for ByuL. As far as what he can actually use to kill those air forces, it's just a handful of Infestors, isn't it now?
Yep, and he made links.
Yeah, 14 Corruptors and 3 Infestors, and when you're pumping out this many Void Rays and those Archons, you're going to have a really difficult time actually killing the Tempests now.
I mean, obviously Void Rays are phenomenal against Corruptors, but if Void Rays are fungled, then suddenly Corruptors do very well again. You know, Fungal is just fantastic against Void Rays because they don't have that much HP. He's at Stargate number 5. Classic is out of control, man.
Yeah, he's balling. He's been a rich boy this game. He's getting a 2nd Cybernetics core for additional upgrades.
Yeah,
why not?
I mean, like, if I was Classic right now, I'd be looking at this game, and you always want to ask yourself, when you like your position, what can I still lose to? Now, this game is kind of close. Links are running by everywhere, by the way, even in the natural as well, so that's kind of cool. That's very frustrating. You don't want to lose expensive tag, and these Links, they've got max upgrade, so they actually do a lot of damage, yeah.
Yeah, they come in. Defensive DTs are actually going to help to mop this up, but, you know, a few pros lost here and there. Not the biggest of deals for Classic, but ByuL still has a lot of resources, like you said.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I would be asking myself, what can I still lose to if I'm Classic right now? And I would say, okay, my army is very big, very hard hitting, but it's pretty slow. So, yeah, if he remaxes on 50 Mutalisk, I could potentially lose to that. So just make sure that you have enough Stargates, you have all the upgrades in the world, and if you make 5 Phoenixes at a time, then all you need is 3 cycles. You have 15 Phoenixes, and you know that is enough against any amount of Mutalisk.
I love this resource dump, building out all these photon cannons so that he can slowly push. He doesn't want to play the turtle game forever. He's saying, I'm going to bring this battle to you one way or another.
This is kind of like a Mech TVZ, but then it's Pros vs.
Yeah, man. Where's what takes at?
I'm sure that a couple of these Protoss units are considered to be mechanical, right? You know, like a Flying Tempest.
all I'm waiting for now are some birds, that's all. Waiting for my Ravens. A few Stalkers here will get killed out for a Spine Crawler, but not the biggest of deals right now for Classic.
So something that ByuL has been getting a lot better at over the last few months, which I really think is a huge reason why he's been more successful as a pro gamer, is his ability to handle all the late game spellcasters, to handle the Infestors, handle Queens, handle Vipers. I think it's something that sometimes looks easy, but is maybe even the most difficult thing in StarCraft 2. To be able to get all those spells off at the right time, at the right place, make sure you don't lose them, is something that's very, very, very difficult to do. I think ByuL has been getting a lot better at it.
This is so good, though. He has this huge army putting all this pressure, and at the same time sends the DTs up. Bunch of Changeling Zealots are going to come in here, maybe block some pathing, but I think it actually could hurt the Ultras more than help.
You gotta go for something soon, though. I kind of feel. I mean, ByuL is very, very rich. He's gonna try to recycle units now, I guess. Couple of feedbacks land down
on everything, running into the meat grinder, especially because if he kills even those Overseers, he has to run all of them in just to reveal this army. There's the Fungal, there's the Blinding Cloud, but the Protoss forces still standing strong. The big question, Kev, as this Zerg army evaporates, what is he going to remax on?
Mutalisk all along. It was going to be Mutalisk. He doesn't have enough larvae, I think, because he has plenty of money. He lost a bunch of Overlords as well.
Because he lost all of his Queens earlier.
Yeah, he lost supply block. Oh god, this went really not good.
He didn't have any Queens to actually get the larva to build the Mutalisk. Oh, he lost too many overlords from those overseers. He doesn't even have the supply available to build that army.
He didn't have both. He didn't have lava and he didn't have overlords. It is going to be Mutalisk, but Classic is very good and very smart. Actually, he's making Void Rays now, so that's very good news for ByuL. But ByuL needed more than the 29 Mutalisk he has right now. He needed 45, 50 immediately. He needs to unpower the Stargate. I don't think there's Phoenix range, by the way, which is a big mistake. Yeah, there is no Phoenix range. I'm very shocked by it. Now Classic realizes, like, oh my god, you're going for Phoenixes? He's probably not even going to kill the Fleet Beacon, Nate, because you expect your opponent to have Phoenix range.
That's a pretty weird position to be in. 13 more Mutalisks are on the way, and that's a really good point. He does need to get Phoenix range on the way. If he's able to start it right now and finish it, that is so huge for actually being able to win this game. And I think once he sees that these Phoenix, if he gets into a skirmish with them, aren't attacking, he'll know that he messed up.
I kind of feel like he missed an opportunity there. I don't know why he got a second Spire or a second Greatest Spire. I don't think that was necessary. Imagine if all those resources would have just gone. Oh, he's going to kill the Fleet Beacon. That's so big.
Really smart play there, denying the ability to get that Phoenix range
He doesn't know that, though, but he's going to see it real soon. He's like, shouldn't your Phoenixes be annoying already, even when you have 3 or 4?
No, it's really difficult, even though they do have that one range lead. Now he restarts that Fleet Beacon.
Yeah, but one range is nothing, especially not when the Muda count is that high. So ByuL still in this one. The previous fight was a disaster. Obviously, he lost 11,000 resources more than his opponent. Void Rays are not good against Mutalisk, but Storm is very good against Mutalisk.
And he drops the preemptive Storm, pushing him back in. Oh, a couple of DTs are going to get chased down. Just more of them into Archons, boys.
How many meters we're looking at? 46. Okay, so this is that number that I kind of felt he could have gotten all along. He got it.
He could have had this immediately.
Yep. And then it definitely would have been a little more devastating. This is difficult, man, if you're Classic. Just take a look at Classic Vision's, Classic's vision real quick. Sees nothing. Where do they come from? He doesn't know. He's just buying time right now. He wants to get enough Phoenixes, but more importantly...
Phoenix range has just started, too.
Yeah. He needs to get Phoenix range. That's a good pilot. He's going to get a Stargate, maybe?
You know, it's really nice, though. Just these revelations. Got to give a shout out to that Oracle control. When you say, you know, Kev, he doesn't know where that big, scary Mutaflock is. He has to keep track of it somehow.
The thing is that this is such an annoying army to run around with. You know, Archons, Immortals that don't do anything. Phoenixes will start being a little bit annoying now, but without range, you're going to end up losing a couple Phoenixes here and there. That's just inevitable against all these Mutalisks.
The Phoenix are really well upgraded, but then again, at the same time, so are the Mutalisks.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say the magic number that Classic is hoping for now is to get up to 12-ish Phoenixes with range. If he has that, then he can start
66
challenging.
Lings on the way, too. He needs to actually deal with the Archons as well if he wants this to work.
Yeah, I mean, sending all those Lings to the, 6 o'clock position would be a pretty smart move, I think. Cannons are... oh. No, that wouldn't be a smart move. Don't do that.
Mama Ship's waiting for you here.
He finds the Fleet Beacon, but Phoenix range is finished up.
Yeah, he gets that pylon there, right before he's able to actually get the cannons firing away. And there's that Zergling counterattack. He's going to run it over there. He can actually target down the Stargates in this position too, but the Phoenix with range now can just rip this army to shreds.
Yeah, okay, this was very painful. The Muda count just dropped from like 46 before to I don't know what it is right now, but definitely not all that high anymore. The Phoenix count is high enough. Phoenix range has finished up, and that is pretty much the end of these Mutalisk. And I almost feel it's the end of ByuL, man. It's 190 supply against 115. ByuL, the successful Zerg, maybe the most successful Zerg in 2015, is going to tap out over here. GG.
Classic taking a dominating 3-0 after a slugfest of a final map. Really showing dominance in this this battle of pride between the chins, Roddy.
Classic just has his number, man. 9-0 throughout his career right now against ByuL. Second 3-0 victory over ByuL this year. And I felt in none of the games, maybe the last one, there was a small moment where I felt the first time maybe a small overreaction against the initial Phoenixes. It started to look a little bit dicey, but in game number 1 and game number 2, I felt it was all Classic. And even in the end, in game number 3, Classic almost put up a masterclass of how to play PvZ and make sure you don't lose.
Yeah, I'd say the way you describe the first 2 games is perfect. You know, it's like studying a build order. You're like, okay, you do this, that, and then you make this push, and you kind of try to work around that. But he just won with it, and it was really phenomenal to see that. Let's hear from the Winter Classic himself now with Chobra.
I mean, not even a paper cut by your opponent, ByuL. Coming in, Classic wins 3-0, moving on to the quarterfinals. Now, I mean, of course, both of you guys in the interview said that you were pretty confident in this matchup. But winning 3-0, is this something you thought could happen? 저희 그럼 이번 이제 16강에서 물론 양 선수 다 이길 자신 있다 그런 말씀 해주셨지만 3-0으로 이렇게 좀 어떻게 보면 손쉽게 이길 수 있다는 자신감까지 있으셨나요?
제가 저그전 또 자신 있기도 하고 한지원 선수가 잘하시긴 하지만 제가 많이 이겨봤거든요. 그래서 1세트만 이기면 3대 0도 충분히 이길 수 있다라고 생각을 했어요.
Yeah, well, I feel pretty comfortable playing up against Zergs, and on top of that, you know, I've generally won very well against ByuL, so no matter how good he is, I thought if I win that first game, if I win that first map, 3-0, definitely an option coming into this matchup. Now, going forward, still a lot of games to be played, of course. Just a round of 16, I mean, each step is very important. But moving on, are you afraid of anyone? I mean, first of course, Hero has already made it to the quarterfinals. Are there any other players out of this lineup that you particularly pick out a little bit stronger than others?
그럼 저희 이제 8강 이제 진출하시면서 물론 다른 선수들 뭐 이전에 이제 김준 선수도 벌써 8강 진출하셨고 또 다른 그 12선수 중에 특별히 이 선수는 조금 무섭다. 이 선수는 이번 블리츠컨에서 누구든지 좀 두려워야 되는 선수다. 그런 선수가 계신가요?
저는 이제 성욱이랑 신영이랑 둘이 하는데 거기서 이기는 사람이 좀 강력한 우승 후보가 아닐까 그런 생각이 들어요.
So I think, of course, innovation. All of our experts have been saying the same thing, but innovation definitely kind of a favorite. He's a little scary, and I think in that matchup in the round of 16, whoever wins there could go all the way to the finals and maybe even pick up the trophy at the end of this BlizzCon. Then one last thing, a little bit more of a personal question. You said in your review, you know what, I won in Korea this year with Star League, and then I went on to win an international tournament at IEM Shenzhen. You said BlizzCon, that's the next goal. How confident are you feeling now after one win? 그럼 저희 이제 그 인터뷰에서 물론 한국 내에서도 스타리그 우승하셨고 그다음에 IEM에서도 또 이제 해외 대회에서 우승하셨는데 블리즈컨이 그럼 뭐 당연한 다음 목표다. 16강에서 8강 진출하시면서 그거에 대한 생각이 지금 어떠신가요?
네, 우선 우승을 목표로 오긴 했는데 그래도 16강부터 좀 잘하는 선수여서 일단 16강만 이기자라는 생각을 많이 했어요. 근데 이제 이겼으니까 8강부터는 이제 우승을 목표로 네. 작년에 승현이 우승하는 거 보니까 되게 멋있더라고요. 저도 그래서 블리츠컨 꼭 우승하고 싶고 또 네, 하려고 열심히 준비하고 있어요.
Of course, I came with the goal of reaching the finals and winning at the global finals here at BlizzCon. But in the round of 16, like I said, ByuL, he's a scary opponent. So when I was preparing for this match, it was only about the round of 16. Now going forward in the quarterfinals, I will have my eye on the prize. When I saw Life pick that trophy up last year, I wanted to be in that same moment. So that's the goal this year for Classic. Once again, moving on to the quarterfinals.
What a dominating win there that was as he moves through now, boys, to the quarterfinals. And everyone thought ByuL was going to do really well, Jeff, but
well,
a 3-0.
Not everyone, I guess. A lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall. I know that Rotterdam has been talking up this match for a while. And you made the point, too, that Classic has never dropped a map to him, or at least a match. So, Sean, that's a really good point, I think, actually. And they went off camera on us on that one. They had it all coordinated. Really,
let's do it again.
That's a really good point. I think that's actually that's a really good point.
Jeff, Todd, you voted for a ByuL victory. Sadly, it just didn't go the way that you imagined it was going to go.
I think maybe it was a little bit of wishful thinking. You know, I used to be teammates with him a long time ago, but on paper I thought this might be even or maybe favored for Classic, and in the end, like, it really showed in the game. Like, he was never in really any danger, it felt like.
It started off rough. The double Oracle, like, that kind of strategy it's so Classic versus ByuL in the sense that, like, that really shouldn't work most often. But it completely threw him off. It's game number one, and then from there it was a downward spiral.
I mean, CeeLo, you watch the games inside out back here, backstage. Was it the approach to the series? Was it the way that he played through the series? What was it that really got to him?
He played very scared throughout the series. He didn't really play to win, but just not to die. And that's just not a way you can play against Protoss, because he let Protoss do whatever Protoss wants to do, get a really nice composition, and then Protoss hits those timings, and it was just...
Always play to win, right?
Always play to win.
Yeah.
We don't play to lose.
Right.
So that's what I did wrong over all those years. Dang it.
I was hoping, because sometimes it's an advantage to have lost series against somebody, because at least you know why you lost against somebody, and then you can kind of try to counter the other player, but he just was too scared throughout the series. You know, this is the unit composition didn't make much sense to me.
Why the Infestors for the first two games, Dario? Like, I feel like they were such a strange read against what he was facing. Like, what do you think he was thinking? Why did he do it?
I felt the Infestors were almost like, oh, Well, I made units that are not ideal in this situation, and then I want to try to get an edge by maybe getting like insane fungals, but we haven't seen that in some years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this panic reaction of I want to make some unit that makes my army stronger, but it didn't really help.
I mean, Todd, look at this moment here. This was where Classic really started to take the game. These fights continue to win over and over.
I think if ByuL hadn't taken any damage across the map against the Dark Tempest, he would have been in a good position, because you would have had 5 mining base against just 3, and then you can just keep on massing and attacking or like trading favorably. But now like those DTs, they snap like what? It was 2 base, and then later on Classic, he knew to trade his Stalkers perfectly because they were going to be useless in the fight. So he even got a hive here and like did a bunch more damage elsewhere. He just played it beautifully.
I can't help but feel that every tournament, Classic enters, he's screaming to fans around the world, please, I am really good. take notice of me. I'm one of the best Protoss players in the world. And
learn to love that Shin, because I'll be here forever.
It's going to have to be another series, though.
This was very
kind of funny to his name. He manhandled ByuL so hard in the stage that people are going to be like, okay, next one. And if he does it the next level, I feel like maybe that's the one, because now there's not going to be as many mismatches this way, I feel like. It's starting to get to the real gravy.
And this was very one-sided, but at the same time, again, it wasn't beautiful games,
Yeah.
It's not a series people are really going to remember. It's a great result, obviously.
Well,
but
if you're Protoss and you're looking for builds against Zerg, maybe you'll remember them and take some notes. But as a whole as well, Protoss, I think, has been doing pretty well against Zerg as of late. And
as of late, yeah.
Well, not in Legacy of the Void, where you dominate. But yeah, I think Classic here, definitely went into this match with the right mindset as opposed to ByuL, and in the end he comes out on top.
God, you keep saying in the end, and I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for you to.
I don't know.
It will
to
come
stay
out.
away from them.
Take it.
Well, what are you talking about?
It's this band. They're going to be playing at BlizzCon. I believe they're called My Chemical Romance. It's going to be amazing. Cannot wait.
But to your point,
I almost kissed so many girls today.
to your point that you all said, coming into the next fight, I mean, we've now got Hero versus Classic in the quarterfinals. If Classic beats Hero there, people will take notice. They have to. I mean, you have to.
Yeah. You have to.
It's a massive victory.
And that's what's cool about BlizzCon, too, is this is a tournament where people can make their name. And we've already seen a couple guys scratched off, so it's not going to be for them. But Classic, and even in his interviews, like, the foreign fans call me Chin Toss. And then there was like, we laughed, but there was no after that. I want there to be an after that. It's like, now call me champion or something, something cool like that. And he's got a chance. He's going deeper.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Do make sure to hashtag WCS and join us in social media, and hopefully continue throughout the day, and also joining us next weekend when we do make our trip to BlizzCon in hope to watch Linkin Park play live. We'll see if we can get some free time. I know you're a big fan.
Huge fan.
Huge fan. You listen to all their out. I've watched your stream. You play them quite a bit. But thank you very much for tuning in. We are going to go to a very, very quick break. And when we return, it's going to be our next match. It's SK Telecom versus KT in Innovation versus Zest.